Breaking news at CBS Sports HQ, Odell Beckham Jr. and Tyrann Mathieu both will not play in that big showdown between the Browns and the Chiefs. Beckham, still recovering from the torn ACL, didn't feel ready after going through warm-ups. And Mathieu was removed from the COVID list on Saturday, but will be held out of today's game. Kickoff is set for 4:25 Eastern at Arrowhead Stadium. For more on that, I'm joined by Pete Prisco. I'm Jamie Eisberg. So, Pete, breaking news. Beckham's not going to play, according to Ian Rappaport. Coach Kevin Stefanski said he needed to see a set number of plays in order to feel good about having him active, and he said he just didn't feel ready for him to go. So how concerned are you about Beckham moving forward now that it's been week 7 of last year, no preseason, limited training camp work, not going to play week 1 against the Chiefs?
It's the smart thing to do. Why put him out there when you know, and put him at any risk when you know you might be able to get him in a couple weeks? And so I think they're being cautious, but it's the right thing to do. I mean, it's not like they haven't played without him before. They played almost the entire season last year without him, and they did really good things. So they're a run-first team. Eventually, they'll get him back. He'll be another big part of it. But being cautious with him is smart.
You brought this up when we were talking about the potential of him playing or not playing earlier in the day, that the narrative was Baker Mayfield played better without Odell Beckham. And the numbers show that, but it's hard to say that you get better by losing one of the best receivers in the game. Does this maybe help things, though, for this Browns offense, knowing that they've been in this position before? Like you said, Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry, the running backs have to step up. And they went into Arrowhead last year and nearly beat the Chiefs at the end of that divisional round playoff game.
Yeah, you never want to say you're better without a really good player. So I'm not going to go there. I know a lot of people do. They became better because Mayfield became better in the offense. They became more comfortable in it. So if you take that whole dynamic and add him back into it, then they're even that much better. So no. I mean, they know how to play without him, so they do have that from a strategic standpoint. But as far as the offense being better without him, I don't buy it at all.
Obviously, Jarvis Landry benefits. He's a better fantasy play in this matchup now without Beckham in there. Austin Hooper closed last season on a tear. Did not have a good game against the Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs. But the 4 previous games, including the playoff game against the Steelers, 13 or more PPR points, he becomes a more viable streaming option as well. Pete, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins, 2 guys who stepped up. Well, Higgins last year. Donovan Peoples-Jones apparently had a really strong camp. Which of those 2 guys do you see benefiting now with Beckham not there?
Donovan Peoples-Jones. I always like to see young receivers who start getting into the flow in their next year, and you could see the growth. And in the preseason, and you heard a lot of good things coming out of there in camp, he showed the growth. So I think he's the guy that's going to take the next step.
Let's go to the other side of the ball again. No Honey Badger in this game. Obviously, Tyrann Mathieu is such a big part of this Chiefs defense and what they do. I think they were kind of preparing for this week when he was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, not feeling comfortable with him ready to go in this matchup after being cleared of the reserve 19 COVID list on Saturday. So how does this defense change now without Honey Badger out there?
Well, they have depth at that position. They play Daniel Sorensen as a kind of a hybrid kind of linebacker safety, and now Juan Thornhill will go in and be the other starter. So it's not like, you miss Honey Badger. There's no question about that. The guy can do so many different things, but they have players who can step in and play. It's not like it's a complete disaster without him. And they, like you said, they prepared this week with the idea, since he had COVID, that he might not play.
And we know it's not a 1-for-1. These 2 guys weren't going to match up, but which loss is bigger for each side of the ball?
Oh, it's definitely Honey Badger. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Not having him in there is enormous for that defense. He's kind of the guy who gets them all going and rallies them together. So not having him in there is big.
Change your approach on how you would bet this game, because the Chiefs 5.5-point favorites at home. We heard Todd Furman saying he likes the over in this game. We've had a lot of conversations about Browns potential Super Bowl contender. How are you approaching the gambling side of things here?
Yeah, I like the over in the game as well, but I think I like the Browns plus the points. I think they're going to run it and run it and run it and hit some shots down the field. Peoples-Jones might be the beneficiary of that. It might take you some shots down the field off of the play action. Chiefs are better on defense, but I still don't think they're very good on defense, and they have the uncertainty in the offensive line. I think Mahomes behind a new group. I mean, there's 3 guys making their first NFL start on that line. That's a big issue. So I'd play the Browns plus the points. I think it does go over, though.
All right, so we'll see how things go for this game. But again, the breaking news is that Odell Beckham Jr. inactive after coming back from the ACL tear from last season, and Tyrann Mathieu also inactive. He was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, coming off the list on Saturday, but the Chiefs wanting to give him the game off just to make sure he's 100% healthy after missing all of the practice time leading up to week 1. One other thing to make you aware of, Saquon Barkley, we didn't know exactly what his status is going to be. He is active for the game for the New York Giants taking on the Denver Broncos. So Beckham out, Tyrann Mathieu out, Saquon Barkley in. We'll have a lot to talk about with these games on our Fantasy Football Today podcast. You can find it wherever podcasts are available.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.